Hi, my name is Claudio Moschella, and I'm an elementary school principal, a husband to an intuitive Self-Reg wife, and a father to two young little girls. One is 3 and one is soon to be 7. In this talk, I just want to share how Self-Reg has impacted me and how it has changed my mindset and how I approach it using the 5 steps of self-regulation. In the first step, reframing, one of the biggest things I've come to learn to reframe is my negative thoughts. Whenever I get into that negative spiral, I've come to realize that whatever I'm being negative towards or about either an event or an individual, I've come to realize that it's not so much the event or individual more than it is the sum of all my stressors. And what I mean by that, I've learned that if I manage all the stressors that I've come to recognize, I can actually think about the event that was causing me negative thoughts or the individual, and I don't elicit that same response. As long as my stresses are dealt with, I don't spin into that negative spiral. So for me, the first step in reframing has done a lot for me. I know when I'm thinking negatively, when I'm going down that rabbit hole, that something else needs to change. Not so much deal with the issue, more than probably deal with my hidden stressors. And that leads me to step 2. And some of the stresses I've come to recognize when I think about those 5 domains is, I always go back to, am I sleeping well? Is that causing the negative spiraling thoughts? Am I eating well? Am I hydrated? I think about the emotion type stressors, such as during the pandemic, there was a lot of worrying over my parents who we felt disconnected to, and I worried about them not being able to see their grandchildren as much. And I know for my parents who are elderly in their 70s and 80s, that's a huge thing for them. Family is a big deal. It's a big regulating piece for them. And then, that becomes a pro-social stress. Thinking about my kids as well during the early years, my older daughter who's in kindergarten now, grade 1 during the pandemic, we noticed she's falling behind in reading and expected because, the teaching is just not the same in school with the need to be physically distanced from the students. And so those stressors I've come to recognize really impacted me and probably set me off in my negative spirals at times. And then figuring out how to reduce them. So for example, my parents, it was so much for me that I connected with my brothers and sister to talk about the idea about getting them an iPad. They are not technologically savvy at all. I mean, the phone that's plugged into the wall is the most. And actually, recently we did get my mom a cell phone, but aside from that, we decided to get them an iPad to FaceTime, so they were able to see us and see their grandchildren, and that helped me, and I'm sure it helped them as well. I mean, it did create other stresses with my mom learning about Facebook and then befriending people across the world that she had no idea who they were, but we dealt with that stress as well. With the good comes the bad sometimes, and you kind of have to balance that out. But other things, considering about reducing our stresses, my wife and I spoke to our daughter's teacher and decided to pull her out certain periods of the day. And because my wife was home, and I'll get to that, why she was home, she was able to work with my daughter and bring her up to a good, strong reading level that we thought where she should be at. Now, I did mention my wife was home, and that was one of the things my wife and I decided, that she would take the year off because of the pandemic as a way to help reduce the stress for the whole family. Because, and this year we've had situations where our daughter's classes got closed and there was no stress. My wife was home, she was able to be there for them. We didn't have to worry about who was going to take work off because she's also an educator. And that was a decision we made because we knew about self-regulation. We knew about the downstream effects of stress, and that yes, there was some financial stress that we balanced out, but we felt that this was a huge stress reduction by having her stay home, and that was all thanks to having a self-reg mindset and thinking about those things down the road. So that was an enormous one for us that we committed to in terms of reducing the whole family stress. Now, moving on, the reflective stage, step 4, being more self-aware. It has helped me become more attuned to my body. I realize when all of a sudden I become congested, that this is a stress that has manifested itself physically in me. I often have these bouts of congestion, and it's either related to stress, I've realized, related to my eating habits, and things I do to reduce my stress is cut out wheat, dairy, and sugar, which I've been doing the last month and a half, because I did find things were getting progressively worse with my health, and I feel a lot better now. These chest tingles I have, now I'm aware that they are stress related, and realizing what calm feels like, that I have this feeling of lightness, where I can bounce off the couch and do things I want to do, or engage in activities with the family. And I just thought that was something I learned about myself, because Self-Reg has helped me be more self-aware of my body and what comfortable feels like, what calm feels like. And in step 5, the restorative piece, I realized that in the pandemic, we were very restricted with what we can do. And I finally embraced the winter, because I'm not much of a cold person. I mean, we have a swimming pool and I like to have it at 90 degrees. It's just who I am. But I really embraced the winter months in terms of going outside, bundling up, getting warm, good pair of long johns. And we'd take the kids out to forested areas. And when we got back home, everybody was calm. The little girls weren't battling it out with each other over toys. It was remarkable to watch, and we committed to that every weekend. We'd find a different natured environment for the kids to play and for us to walk around and explore, and it was really amazing. And one of the biggest things I've come to realize is appreciation. Being in that appreciative mindset. My wife and I oftentimes will just sit and say, okay, what can we appreciate right now? And wow, what a blue brain activity that is. Just to sit and appreciate what you have, or what's coming, and it just really turns off the limbic system when you visualize and focus on things that you appreciate or want. That has been a huge thing as well. And one last thing that really brings restoration to me is doing things just like this right now. I really enjoy spreading the Self-Reg word. Any type of presentation I can offer any group that's interested, it really restores my energy levels and gives me that boost that I quite enjoy. I recently just completed a book talk with another colleague for the Ontario Principal Council, and really enjoyed that. So those are some of the things that really restore me, that I've learned about myself through using the 5 steps of Self-Reg. And I hope this talk has helped you reflect on your own Self-Reg and the 5 steps and how maybe you can use them to help you. But I must say, over the last few years, it has changed me as an individual, a lot more happier. And when I'm not, I know what to do about it. I don't fixate on that one particular thing. I realize, it's the sum of stressors that I need to deal with. So I hope you enjoyed the talk. Thank you.